Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Dicing with Death. Pinespur is yours. You've taken the paltry throne room.
Yeah,
it's an embarrassment,
meeting chamber.
really.
Or a committee room, really.
God.
I think for the time being, Malcifer's chaotic evil. He really doesn't have any time for or mind for structure, like hierarchies. I don't know. Really can't be bothered. For now, until we can locate the displaced Gadian lords, if there even are any, I think Pinespur will be ruled by the hunters committee or whatever. They can hang out in this little committee room here and figure out how to keep this place running.
Nice.
Yeah, so I will.
So you put the peasant hunters in charge of the city.
Not peasants. I mean, what do you mean? They're citizens of Winter's Reach.
Sure.
Gadians. They are lords, as I've always been telling them, right?
I guess.
So I will. Yeah. I mean, I'll until we can find what happened to like the rightful leaders of this place. We will. I will, declare them. I'll tell them that they are, to be wardens of Pinespur and keep this place running.
Oh, right.
Keep the. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the plan is to keep the undead rank and file sitting here in the center of town. But if a zombie should happen to wander into, I guess, yeah.
Well, why don't we do that next level? Which is going to be slightly awkward because you get 2 new undead that you can raise that I actually haven't fleshed out. No pun intended.
I'm pretty good at ignoring all of these class abilities for a while, right?
Sweet.
So we can focus on the ones that you do have. We can make some ghosts another time.
Yeah, the ghosts and the revenants will come later. But now you get the ability Raise Undead and the spell Sensitivity to Life, which is I think it's a one and done spell. Is that it?
Was this what I've been... Is that something else? I don't know. This is enchanting a set of eyeballs, so I don't think.
Oh, right. That's not one and done. Those will.
I think I know what you're referring to. That's a higher level ability that I'm certainly interested in. This one enchants a set of eyeballs. I might do this to my hunters, actually.
Right. So let's talk about your new ability, Raise Undead. By this point in their career, a necromancer has become familiar with the practices of creating their undead followers. The necromancer may now raise their undead at a much greater rate. With 1 hour of prep time, the necromancer can raise 8 undead of a single type instead of just 1. The costs do not change, only the time required. Should the necromancer wish to raise 8 skeletons, they must still pay the 8 small animal cost. For the purposes of conversion, 1 large animal will equal 3 medium animals, and 1 medium animal will equal 3 small. So a single large animal like a horse could raise you 8 skeletons, or you could sacrifice, 8 cats to raise the 8 skeletons. The types of undead that can be raised en masse are those with level requirements 3 less than the caster's current level. So at 8th level, the caster could raise level 5 creatures or below. A necromancer would need to be level 10 to mass raise nightmares, if you could ever, get all the appropriate components. That is Raise Dead.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to do with this.
I mean, that's 64 undead a day.
Yeah, we could sort through the fallen soldiers right quick. I mean, I think that must be what happens after the battle. This Malcifer spends a weekend around Pinespur cleaning things up. Let's take care of the rest of the level up effects, right? So I will go ahead and officially raise Malcifer to level 8. I will roll 1d6 for HP.
Yes, sir.
Our 1d6. Come on. 6.
Ooh, very nice.
Juicy. Bring Malcifer's max HP to 33. I kind of want to just fill up to full with this new level up. I think let's sort through those prisoners and figure out what their crimes were.
In the jail?
In the jail, and then just like drink their blood and eat their souls and get myself back to full.
There's a ledger in the jail that has a list of all the people who have ever been in the jail, what their crimes were, when they were admitted, when they were released, what punishments they received, etc. So you don't even have to interrogate them if you don't want. You can just read the ledger and take it at face value.
Yeah, let's do that. I don't particularly trust previous leadership, but we'll see. Right, so I want to make sure that there's no like political criminals here that I would want to free. But if they're just like murderers, I mean, I don't know. Might as well just eat them.
There is one person who's marked down as a rebel who's been in here for 50 years. Everyone else is like pickpockets, cutthroat, rapists, the terrible things, the people you would probably want gone as well.
So, yeah, Malcifer's down in the jail at some point, looking through this ledger. I think the Blood Knights follow me everywhere. The skeletons. Maybe we should just put them on the wall or something. That seems like a place to put them.
Okay.
Guarding the city, right?
Guarding the city.
Once things settle out, right? The skeletons will have taken the place of the other soldiers and manning the walls. The hunters will be manning the town. What happened was every last sword raised, every last spear raised. So like all the town guards, the sheriffs, they were all rallied into whatever, into companies and sent to battle. So like there's no town guards left in Pine Spur because they were all manning the wall.
Right, and any soldiers that might have survived the battle have since fled the town, fearful of being caught and executed.
Yeah.
So there might be some town guards somewhere, but the streets are empty of them.
Cool. So down in the jail, Malcifer's looking at his ledger, and he finds the note of Rebel, some guy who's been there for 50 years. So I'll head to the back of the jail and find this guy. See what we're looking at.
He's an older gentleman now. He's been here for a long time. He was a young man when he came in. His hair is long and white. His skin is bound tightly to his thin frame. His knuckles are, bulging. He barely lifts his head as you walk up towards him. Sort of makes half-hearted eye contact with you. You can see that his arms and legs have shackles with chains attached to the wall, but the chains are long enough that he can sit or lay down, but he certainly is still chained to a wall. There's a bucket in here that is near to overflowing with waste. He looks like a miserable fellow.
You know who I am?
He shakes his head slowly.
Bards. You look resigned, or does he think that he's maybe seeing death before him? All 6'2" and black cape and bone armor. Says here you were a rebel.
I was.
Or what did you fight?
Kel Isle. It's a small island northeast. We wanted independence. We didn't get it.
Am I familiar with Kel Isle and their rebellion? Or is
you
this
are not familiar with their rebellion. News of it never made it across the island to you.
Independence from...
A lot of them. A lot of these Aridonian interlopers.
Well, your wishes have been granted. The old gods hear your prayers. And Malcifer will unlock the cage and let it slide open.
What sort of trick is this?
Is he, if I toss him the keys, is he able to like unlock himself?
Yeah, he's got movement and mobility. Some.
Yeah. Malcifer like kicks the keys across the jail cell to him.
He looks untrusting, like he thinks this is a trick that you're about to pull on him.
Well, no trick. Are
No
your is your family still on Kel Isle?
I've been in this cell for 50 years. I haven't seen the outside world or heard anything. They tell me my family was butchered, dragged through the streets, put their heads on spikes, but I've never seen it.
Well,
Who are you? Where are my jailers? What's all the noise from above?
I am Lord Winters, and your jailers have been dragged through the streets, their heads placed on spikes. The interlopers have fallen, and I think, Malcifer will turn to leave this guy, I guess.
He'll unlock his chains and get to his feet, and holding the walls to help stabilize himself, he walks for the very first time through his 8x8 cell, up the stairs, and I guess he runs into skeletons walking, once he gets out the cell, he sees you and a whole bunch of blood knights.
There's the blood knights in the jail. Yeah, they follow me wherever I go, right? So he'll pretty quickly see that there's undead here.
Yep.
I don't know what his reaction to that will be.
Shock, terror, confusion, surprise, all the things.
Yeah, so I guess so he probably goes to like stagger out of the cell, walks into the hallway, and sees that there's a bunch of skeletal warriors bathed in blood. He looks in shock, mouth gape. Malcifer says, "Did you say you were a knight of Kel Isle?"
I was. My family we go back generations. My great-great-grandmother was the Baroness of Kel Isle. A small barony, to be sure, but a proud one.
Well, House Winter remembers. You should find what remains of your family, if any are left. Belial is yours once more, and Winter's justice has been served. Go find your blood.
He gets up to leave. I mean, he's still he's looking at you, and he wants.
Yeah, I don't know what your plans were for this guy. I mean, I feel like Malcifer just frees him, thinking that he's gonna go off on this epic quest to see what happened, or rest. I don't know, find the remains of his family, and they'll live a happily ever after on their barony of Kel Isle, and we've just saved them from these oppressors. But he's not marked, and there's skeletons everywhere. Who have been kind of instructed not to murder wantonly, but it's a little difficult without micromanaging to keep skeletons in check. So I guess it's kind of up to him to see he
will slowly wander out of the jail cell and look at the sun for the first time in 50 years and get his bearings, and eventually he will wander out of the city.
There are people in Pine Spur. The skeletons are on the wall, and the hunters are sort of around to keep things from check, but I bet it's quickly going to devolve into a sorry state here in Pine Spur. we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the people will. I don't know. So there are people about, right? Or is everyone hiding out in their houses?
People are hiding out in their houses, and I think you know that even though the skeletons are on the walls right now and they've been told not to bother anyone, that order will eventually fade, and as people come, eventually they'll get restless if someone gets too close, They are undead, they will follow their orders to the best of their ability, but left to their own devices for long enough, their desire for the life of others will creep up on them.
Okay. Well, so I don't know what happens to this guy. I mean, does he come to? Does he have anything more to say to Malcifer, or will he come back? I mean, so I think from
if you want to, he's got like 100,000 questions for you. I don't think any of it needs to be played out in character. How willing are you to indulge him?
Does he loiter around Malcifer? Does he run for his life? Does he go off on this epic quest to find his descendants and retake Kel Isle?
Let's.
Yeah.
It's fine. He will, once he gets his shit together, he will ask you, the new lord of this area, if you would provide him with safe passage back to his homeland so he can try and find his people. He's a little old to make it on his own. He's going to need an escort.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll send him with an escort, probably with a couple spears of skeletons to retake Kel Isle. Maybe we should come back. I don't know at what point will he bring this up? Should we come back to it at some point later, or?
I think if you are willing to chat with him, it comes up right now.
Okay.
Yeah. If he's going to take a couple spears of skeletons, he's going to need to be marked, at least.
Yeah, that's probably the best. The brand is back in Winter's Reach, unfortunately. How long does it take to get to Winter's Reach and back?
A couple days.
That's for a skeleton. It's like a day there, a day back.
Mm-hmm. How many miles was that? 20 miles through the forest. Yeah, a skeleton could go there. A what do you call it? I'm blanking on their names. Specialist could go there, grab your axe and back in 30 hours at the worst.
The brands, right?
Yeah, the brands.
Yeah. Maybe it's best to send the hunters even. So while I'm here in Pine Spur, I can keep things in check. The hunters won't need to be guarding it immediately. Well, yeah, guarding it immediately. So we'll send the company of hunters back to relay the good news. That Pine Spur has fallen. Yeah, the war's won, maybe. I don't know. And they will and to retrieve the brands from the keep and come back post haste. And then we've got this Kel. Is Kel their house name, or is that?
No. Kel is just the name of the island. Their house is House Deferral.
Okay, well, we have this the Deferral Rebel. Okay. So he comes up and asks for an escort back to Kel Isle. That can certainly be arranged. For now, make yourself at home in Pine Spur. We will, yeah.
Okay.
We will help you retake Kel Isle. Is he put off by the skeletons, or is he embracing his winter gods? Seen it?
The world has changed since he went down inside. And he's come out to a whole different world, and he's going to take a while to adjust.
Rebellion than the one he went in fighting for.
Yeah, he may not be excited about the skeletons, but he is excited that his captors and these others are gone. And Malcifer has always talked about the other houses that, the other people of Gadia that don't approve of these Eridonian interlopers, but so far, it's only been your group, and here we're finally seeing.
Yeah.
Sure enough, there are a few other outposts of people with similar beliefs as yours.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just he's taking it in. You've got a couple days with him, I guess, before the brand comes back and everything. So.
Yeah. So so is he just like surviving in Pine Spur, avoiding the dead? Does he follow Malcifer around for protection, or does he just like post up somewhere in the market and
and if you don't stop him, he will post up in the keep. He will post up in the very top room of the keep, in like the Lord's room of the keep, as sort of like a final middle finger.
Unless Malcifer wanted that room for himself. I don't know where Malcifer would find to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll check with him later. Okay, so he's around for a couple days because Malcifer was on his way to feed on the other prisoners when this guy distracted him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he witnesses the feasting that follows.
Okay.
Right, so he was the first one we dealt with. The next don't go as smoothly. It'll be more like, says here you're a murderer.
I murdered the bitch. What do you want for it?
Yes, and
take his life.
Your soul was forfeit. And so Malcifer unlocks these cages and feasts upon their flesh. I think we kind of want them to struggle and chip off charges of spirit armor so that I can recast it.
Sure.
So I don't know if we want to role play any of this out, but Malcifer will burn through his charges of spirit armor, drain the blood, eat the souls, and clear out the jail of these prisoners.
So my only question for you is, are you doing all of this in the darkness and privacy of the underground jail? Or are you taking these prisoners out into public and executing them for all to behold? Where do you work your dark magics?
I think we just do this cell by cell in the jail. Are there people to behold? I think the people of Pine Spur are terrified and hiding from their undead oppressors in their houses, right?
Yeah.
Windows are boarded up. There's not people in the market square, right?
Right.
I don't have to orchestrate it. The only witnesses would be the prisoners, right? That the skeletons are holding up on the surface. No, I think this dark magic is performed in the darkness of the jail. How many prisoners are there? How many HP? How many years? How efficiently can we drain that HP?
There's 30 prisoners.
30. Okay.
So you can drain to full. And you will get 89.8 years out of these people.
How many years do I need to expend draining life?
Ooh, you're at 18 HP out of 27?
Yeah.
Minus 18, about 2. 5 years.
Actually,
5 years.
5 years. I can even use Siphon Soul's probably not the way to go. All right, so minus 5 years for the draining.
Plus 89.8.
Oh, 256.75 years.
My.
Gay-blooded Malcifer. 0.75. I feed back to 30 of 33 because we have a bat essence held.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we'll recast a higher level version of spirit armor, or 30 HP feels really good. But I think mechanically, spirit armor is so much better.
Yeah, it's really good. It's too good at higher levels. I need to find a way to adjust that.
Well, it's nice that it scales, and it's so convenient without thought to balance to just scale it as 1 per level.
I wonder if maybe, though, it should be a set number of charges that increase in strength rather than increasing in number and strength, right?
Yeah.
Because you get spirit armor at...
level 1, isn't it? Or is it level 2?
It's been changed. You get it at level 4 now. So it starts as 4 for 4. But then at this point, it's 8 for 8, which is super strong. So I'm wondering if maybe keeping it at 4 charges, we don't have to change it for your character now, but just rambling about future plans. Maybe leaving it at 4 charges, but the strength of those charges goes up over time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, after a certain point, it almost doesn't matter except for crits, right? If the strength goes up.
Right.
So it basically becomes like a stone skin almost.
Yeah, like a weaker stone skin.
Off the charges with 1 HP damages.
It might have an effect if you're fighting, large, scary monsters.
Yeah. So maybe it's not
I don't know.
Problem. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe it always resists 4 HP, but the number of charges increases. Either one of the two ways. I just think right now it's become, like a crazy version of stone skin. I don't know.
Yeah. Necromancers are crazy versions of wizards.
They are. They certainly are.
I don't know how I feel about bumping into a level 4 spell. So this was a huge factor in the survivability of necromancers. I guess you've also got your undead minions, so maybe it's kind of redundant. Maybe it's fine. It's a higher level 4 ability.
We'll play. Do you want to talk sensitivity to life? Is that something you're interested in?
One. I don't think Malcifer would do that to himself.
Really?
Doesn't it blows up your face when you look at the sun?
Yeah, just don't look directly in the sunlight. I mean, you shouldn't look directly at the sun anyway, right?
I guess so, yeah, okay.
I think it's very difficult to accidentally stare at the sun, so... Shall I read the spell to the people, or would you like to tell them what it is?
Sure, I can read this one. I'm not sure how we're going to use it, but sensitivity to life by enchanting a set of eyeballs laid out before the caster, and then inserting them into the eye sockets of a creature. Creature gains a sensitivity to life force. The sensitivity is the strongest in the eyes, but does extend to the whole of the body as the eyes settle in. These eyes can see with infravision 10 feet per level of the caster. This type of infravision is created by drawing out the occupant's spiritual force to somewhat ethereally shifted. The shift allows the spiritual force of the recipient to tug on the life force of those around it in much the opposite way of a comet's tail.
So comet's tails always face away from the sun, and this, you can see the spiritual life always drawing towards the eyes. I know.
Fair enough. This pull on the life force creates a distinct outline around living things. A nasty side effect of the spell is that high energy sources of life become dangerous for the caster, especially to look at. Looking directly at the sun immediately destroys the eyes and deals 1d6 damage per caster level to the recipient. Clean flowing water, a nymph spring, a dryad's meadow, and other high energy life source forces cause discomfort when looked at and pain when surrounded by. This pain can even cause damage or death if the caster is fully immersed in a strong source. The spell lasts 1 year. For each additional year of life beyond 10, they sacrifice when casting. The eyes used can be the subject or someone else's, but they must fit, and their source conveys no additional benefit. Only once the spell expires, the eyes rot and fall from the head of the recipient. Okay.
So it gives you undead infravision, basically. So even in pitch black, you can see the outlines of living things. But positive energy things are discomforting or hurtful.
Yeah, I'm okay with I think I'm kind of okay with the effects of it. Having infravision sounds great, but actually scooping out your own eyeballs, and I guess you can see through the eyes of your dead as a necromancer, can't you? So that wouldn't be too disconcerting.
Right.
You could even like possess a skeleton to perform the surgery.
You could. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe mouse. Oh, my first instinct was to use this on the hunters or something.
That would make them excellent hunters. If they could
Maybe
see the outlines of animals around them. Bunnies couldn't hide.
Ooh. Charos. Can you replace just one eye, or does it have to be the matched set?
It's a matched set. It's the only way the magic functions.
Yeah.
And it does eventually spread to the rest of the body, right? The sensitivity. So, you know, even if you were to close your eyes and like surround yourself in like a nymph's glade or whatever, it would still be super unpleasant because your whole body is enchanted, even though the focus is the eyes.
Yeah. I feel like narratively Malcifer could have used some dark teacher or something, or are these spells just coming to him as strokes of divine inspiration from the winter gods?
I think it's the sort of thing where you have been playing with forces of life and death enough that you kind of like catch on to this, and you like catch on to how to raise undead faster, and you've been playing with this sensitivity thing. The detect spirits works very much the same way, where you like shave off some of your life and you can like attract the other things around you. And I think at level 8, Malcifer is just realizing, hey, I could make eyeballs that always see this way instead of having to cast the spell.
Yeah. So for this, I think that's all fine for this like alpha test campaign. And especially, I mean, in Malcifer's a mad murder hobo with, you know, megalomaniac, right? The delusions of grandeur.
A murderer, actually, you're not very hobo-like. You have a home that you've been returning to repeatedly.
Murder noble.
There you go, murder noble. Also known as just a regular noble.
Right, so Madman Malcifer having these strokes of inspiration that he thinks are coming from divine sources seems fine. I feel like for another Necromancer campaign, I feel like having some form of narrative spell learning akin to wizards having to like research spells would probably be appropriate, or having like a dark tutor, or
I completely agree.
Some narrative source for these spells, right? Or having to like seek out dark tomes with the instructions for this crazy eye scooping ritual.
Yeah, I think this is definitely something that should have to be learned in any subsequent campaign. But this is the alpha test of everything.
For the alpha test, we just want to throw out the new spell and see how it functions.
Right.
But I think the way to do it would be to have like some narrative spell learning involved with each of these new abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially even like player driven. And there's probably other spells you could come up with beyond what's on the list, but like seeking out necromantic tablets or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that would be a fun way to do it.
Quest lead.
Yeah.
So maybe Malcifer will scoop out his own eyes. I think we're going to do all the surgery and stuff back at Winter's Reach. Cleaning up Pines. Okay, so we've feasted. Prisoners dealt with. Max Age, so good. Let's use some of these souls. Let's use some of we need livestock. Once the hunters are back with the brands, we'll set them to work rounding up livestock for skeletal sacrifices. I want to raise some ghouls first off.
Okay.
I guess I should have saved some HP, but that's fine. So let's mass raise ghouls. First day after the Siege of Pine Spur.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's just put a pin in that for a moment.
Yeah.
And zoom out and look at the bigger scale of Malcifer's desires, because we can raise undead till the cows come home. But what do you want? Like, what is Malcifer's next move? Is he done? Has he conquered Gadia and his goals have been achieved? Is his attention turning elsewhere? There's talk of mercenaries coming in this direction. Is that something he's going to look into? This whole area over here has sort of been unexplored. Are you just assuming they're going to fall in line, or do they also need to be brought to justice?
I'm expecting there will be cleanup. So I think the immediate plan is to tidy Pine Spur, right? To clear out all the dead bodies, probably raise all the dead bodies as undead and get them out of Pine Spur. And leave Pine Spur to hopefully, right? I didn't want to sack Pine Spur. Kind of wanted to leave it semi-functional. Well, we were talking, and there's this new spell to play with. So returning to Winter's Reach and performing surgery on my eyes seems interesting. Traveling to Kel Isle with this Rebel Knight and retaking that is certainly an option. And like you said, looking into the mercenaries. So there's a bunch to do. I think it will take a week or more to raise back all of these fallen soldiers and skeletons in Pine Spur. Maybe we'll get distracted. I mean, maybe leaving fields of dead bodies outside of Pine Spur is an interesting thing. Like fields of, the battlefield with soldiers and stuff. But we'll spend at least a little bit of time getting Pine Spur in order before, I think, heading back to Winter's Reach. And then following up on other things. I guess, Does that rambling answer?
That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to know.
While we're looking at this zoomed out map, should we clean up some of these?
Oh yes, these things? Companies. We can just move them off to the side.
I think I can just delete these little skellies. I'll keep one skelly guy hanging around. Actually, the black company is occupying Pine Spur right now. Malcifer is as well. These hunters were heading back to Winter's Reach. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's raise some stuffs. You can raise 8 times the regular amount of creatures per day, per night, whatever you want to call it. So, what do you want to do?
So that means
what do you want to raise?
In a day, I can raise 64 of whatever is an appropriate level. So that would be at 8th level, level 5 and below. Includes
skeleton warriors, but not blood knights. But specters, warriors, ghouls, zombies, ghosts, regular phantoms, regular skeletons. Yeah.
I think I need more HP.
What do you need the HP for?
Ghouls. Those take... Oh, I can do a day of ghouls.
Yeah, ghouls take a quarter.
16 HP will get me 64 ghouls. 16 HP and 64 years.
Which you have plenty of now. You're sitting at 200 something?
Yeah, not after this day. That's a busy day. So I think we, using the fresh bodies on the battlefield, Malcifer just walks amongst the dead and raises back all of these soldiers as ghouls. Or at least a good chunk of them.
The raising begins. The ghouls ride from the fields. Do you do this during the day or during the night, out of curiosity?
Don't matter. Probably during the day after a full night's rest. But
okay.
It's 8 hours of raising.
Right.
Malcifer walking amongst the fields. So is this less? You said there's prep, right? So the bodies get gathered and piled up.
Yeah.
Okay. After a day, we're down to 192. All my HP though, so from 30 down 16, I'm at 14 HP at the end of all that. And we spend 8 hours raising ghouls. 64 ghouls. What are we gonna do with 64 ghouls? I don't know, but I'm not gonna run into the same problems as last battle.
All right, so day 1 brings us 64 ghouls. What does day 2 bring us?
think it's time to raise. Let's see. Zombies take HP as well. Oh, that's large. Regular zombies just take years.
Mm-hmm. Just years of your life.
Can you raise 64 zombies in a day?
You can. You've gotten very good at raising zombies now. Instead of this long procedure where you have to carefully remove this and put some blood here and stitch it up and make sure it's all done, you're such a deft hand at it that it's, cut, pull, blood, push, put this back over, prep all of these, and then raise at once. You're so much faster at it.
I'm gonna burn through my soul so fast, Neal. I need more. Skeletal warriors also require souls, is that correct?
I believe so.
Skeletal warrior, 1 year. And medium animals.
Medium animal is going to be the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to collect all the dogs in the town.
Just all the stray dogs, that's what the hunters are for, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rat catchers. So after a second day of raising, we will be down to 128.75 years. I'm mortal. All right, so first day is 64 ghouls. Let's do the second day as 64 regular zombies.
Okay.
64 zombies. All right. God, that's... And then hopefully by this day, the hunters will have returned with the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And we can start raising skeletons.
Okay. The man gets branded.
Start doing brands. Yeah. So by a couple of days of hanging out with the rebel, I can never remember his name. Doesn't really matter. The rebel knight. Mm-hmm. He's ready to willingly take a brand.
He will take a brand.
Take up his mark of command. Has he had any questions? Have there been philosophical conversations about?
Well, the first thing is, have you heard of my family? Anything about them? And of course, you haven't. And he sort of asked for a brief history of what's happened while the time he was gone.
Yeah, I will say that I knew that there were other there were others, that there were other houses of old Gadia out there, but he's the first that I've encountered.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm the Lord of Winter, a loyal servant of the Winter gods, and they have heard our prayers and sent their soldiers, enslaved the enemies, the bodies and souls of the Eridonian invaders to rise up and fight back at their former comrades. What a blessing. Doesn't he agree?
Yes, what a blessing. Who are these winter gods you speak of?
Your house does not worship the winter gods?
I've never heard of them before. But I am willing to believe in any god that brings these barbarians to their knees.
Yeah. So your house did not worship the old gods? Or have such records been lost?
Have the gods changed? We worshipped Astaire and Martha.
Astaire and Martha are the gods of the Eridonians. They were brought here with the invaders. Now, not that these gods are not real and do not have power, but they are just one side of the coin. Foolish Eridonians and their so-called sages and prophets are blinded by their own arrogance. They do not see reality for how it really is.
When I make it home, if there's anything left of my family, I shall look into these winter gods of yours. What are their names?
The is this conversation going on in Eridonian or in Gadian?
I think you guys probably started in Eridonian, but if you try Gadian, he speaks it.
Yeah, that's probably how we would converse if he's comfortable.
Yeah. I think you'll switch to Gadian once you realize that you both speak it.
Yeah, we must heed their power. Speaking the names of the gods of winters may invoke their notice, their wrath. Crashing of lightning on command.
I see.
One should not speak of the winter gods unless they wish to invoke their power.
Dark deities, it seems.
Without darkness, there can be no light. Without shadow, no flame.
He looks around to the...
There can be no life.
The ghouls rising around as you have this conversation. He nods appropriately. I may have misplaced my faith before. But I see what has... He's like 75 now. You know, he was a rebellion in his... in rebellion in his 20s, and it's been 50 years. So... Yeah.
Oh, all right. So after a few days of these philosophical conversations, he comes around and gracefully accepts the mark, especially once it's clear to him that it will allow him to go unnoticed amongst the dead. They will see him as protected, blessed by the gods of winter. In fact, we could probably even give him a mark of command, or a mark of allegiance. What do they call it?
Oh, mark of allegiance.
Right, if he's going to go and take back Kel Isle with a bunch of skeletons, I don't know if I want to go micromanaging them for him.
You can give him some skeletons and a mark of allegiance, and he'll be able to sort it out.
Yeah, that might be what we do here. Mark of allegiance, control over the cast. Yeah, I mean, do you want him? Should we? I feel like we should roll some things, like charisma checks or something, to see if he is legitimately convinced, or if he's not, if he fools me enough.
All right.
But based on the way these conversations have been going, it sounds like he's converted.
Well, why don't you give me a wisdom willpower check?
This isn't to convince, or is this to convince, or is this just to tell if he is genuine?
I think this is to tell, and he seems, it's taken a couple days, but he seems convinced that you're onto something. Like, clearly you've got these minions and these undead armies, and the winter gods are pretty terrible sounding people, but like, shit, they're fucking real, right? How else would you raise undead? Mind,
and this is, I mean, probably what he's rambled to this poor knight over the couple days is like, the Eridonians brought this upon themselves, right? They showed up and took this land that wasn't theirs, sat on it for nearly 200 years. And they brought Winter's curse down by committing these crimes against reality, right? They swung things too far out of balance, and now death is here to bring it back the other way.
So he will believe, and he converts.
Yeah.
Now, just for the viewers out there, there's no such thing as winter gods; they're not real. But you know, this guy believes them, and Malcifer believes them. I know some of you have all been converts as well. I mean, Malcifer is just too charismatic. He's convincing the real people.
I don't know that this. I mean, I've nailed that willpower check. I mean, this guy may not fully. I mean, I think Malcifer believes that he will be a loyal enough servant, right? He's not going to go running off with these skeletons and do something. I mean, he'll take the skeletons and he'll retake Kel Isle and the name of Old Gadia. We serve the same, but I mean, I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, he's never heard of the winter gods. What sort of craziness is that?
Yeah.
He's mostly just saying what he needs to say to survive, right? And he
Okay.
sees the evidence before his eyes.
Yeah, and
The
these
dead are
people.
walking amongst them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if this crazy Lord of Winter thinks that he's a prophet of the Winter Gods, then so be it. He's got the undead army. We serve the same ends, right? His rebellion is, I don't know,
Yeah.
enemy of my enemy is
Yeah.
crazy necromancer. All right, so in front of all the hunters, we'll mark this this knight. What was his name? Remind me your name again, Sir Knight.
It was de something, right?
Yes, this.
De something. Can't remember. I'm looking on the document that I pulled his name from. I can't find it.
That's fine. Doesn't matter. Malcifer keeps forgetting.
It wasn't deposit. It was blame? Spacho?
Don't look at chat, you know. He was not Sir Despacito. Lord of the Beat.
Deceased? De blame?
Doesn't matter.
Deferral. That's what it was.
Deferral. That's okay. Was he a knight?
Yes, Kel Deferral. Well, he was a knight, but he's been stripped of his knighthood.
Kel. He would have been called Kel Deferral?
25 years ago, before my 50 years ago, before my failed uprising, I was a knight. They've stripped it from me, though.
You know, in Old Gadia, they called the knights by their proper title of Sir and not Kel. But this.
Well, then I guess they never stripped anything from me. I haven't been a Kel for 50 years, but I've always been a Sir.
Sir Deferral. This guy, he seems content enough to let Malcifer, this like 19-year-old kid, tell him how things were in Old Gadia.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll sacrifice 3 years to give him a mark of servitude.
Did you also want to give him a mark of allegiance?
Don't they stack?
They do.
Or do they?
Yeah. So the mark of servitude is 2 years, mark of allegiance is 3, and you need both of them.
So it's a total of
command.
5 or is it a total of 3?
Total of 5 to be able to command.
So there's no purpose in mark of allegiance on its own?
No, it requires a mark of servitude. It will not function on its own. It's like, you know, an upgrade.
All right, so with the 2 brands, that'll be 2 more years, 5 total years. I have to choose which type of undead he can control. Is that just like an option? That's like if I don't want him to be able to command Blood Knights, he doesn't get to.
Right. So
That's
you
definitely, I mean, so the Blood Knights. I mean, yeah, Blood Knights are definitely off limits. Is this decided at the time of branding? Is like the brand different for different levels? So I think the only brand
I think it's more of like the ritual that goes with the brand determines the depth of the control. So you know, a lighter ritual gives you lighter undead to control. A deeper ritual gives you more undead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm fine with him commanding everything except for the Blood Knights and the like spirits, which I guess doesn't really matter much, but.
So no ghosts and no blood knights, but everything below that is fine.
Even like specters and shades. Well, I don't know. Hey, everything below ghosts is fine.
Yeah, I doubt it'll actually come into play. He's just going to march off and do his own thing.
Yeah, so we'll send him off with a bunch of zombies and ghouls and skeletons or whatever, and he can go retake Kel Isle.
Excellent.
Go off on your holy quest, brave Sir Deferral. I defer my conquest of Kel Isle to you. So maybe he'll come back, or maybe he'll be crushed by mercenaries on the Lindell Plain.
Sorry, I just had a candy delivery. For I don't know why, but there's now candy in my room.
Ooh. Where's my candy?
I don't know. Where is she?
What? Working?
Like
any productive person?
Okay.
Cool. Deferred. We got our hunters back. They didn't happen to bring any sacks of rats, did they?
If you told them you needed a few sacks of rats, they will have brought them.
I think I forgot to tell them. I mean, I don't know. If they were good hunters, they would anticipate. If they were good loyal servants, they would anticipate my needs. Or maybe
they are loyal servants. I rolled a die for it.
Maybe Rosegrove remembered. Yeah, so
they not only bring the rats, but they bring Rosegrove and Lilith and the Butcher and the Cult of the Butcher, or whatever they're called.
Cultists, yeah.
The cultists, yeah. Say the core people who make up your, what's the word? Your infrastructure are brought to Pine Spur.
Interesting. I wasn't anticipating that, but fair enough. Welcome,
Retinue.
Lords of Gadia. Retinue, yeah.
That's the term for these people.
Pine Spur. Enjoy the heated toilet seats. And I guess for now the Court of Winter will occupy Pine Spur. Maybe that old knight in his quest hangs around for a little while.
Sure.
Rests and recuperates, hangs out with the living for once.
Regains some of his strength, gets fed, cuts his hair, gets new clothes. Once he's, cleaned up a little bit, he does look like a refined nobleman. They may have broken him physically, but they never broke him philosophically or ideologically. Okay.
All right, then. And with bags of rats, and I think the hunters will see to keeping peace in Pine Spur. Rounding up any stray dogs. And let's mass produce a bunch of skeletons. How many skeletons will it take to clean up the battlefield? I mean, so I think that's the order. With the Cult of the Butcher, we'll spend the week or so gathering the bodies of the dead.
Well,
them up, and
the ghouls that you raised that day will help tremendously.
Yeah.
They can shred the bodies, turn them into skeletons very quickly. And then your other minions, it's a compounding interest thing. Every minion you raise makes it easier to raise more minions.
Yeah.
So I think in a matter of days, the battlefield is cleaned and converted.
Yeah. How many regular skeletons shall I raise? How many rats can we gather? How many stray dogs? What will be the limiting factor here? How many bodies are there on the battlefield? I don't think we're not going to be digging up graveyards or anything, but we're going to clean up the walls.
Bodies on the battlefield. Let's find out.
And there are also my fallen skeletons can be re-raised. So there are about 100 of those, plus a bunch of zombies. Zombies could have been that as well.
So there are about 152 living. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Plus, for a total of 304 corpses. We'll just call it 300 corpses. Some of these zombies have been hacked into bits and would need to be, re-stitched together. But yeah.
176. Well,
so
all right. So let's. Can we get a couple hundred rats and dogs? Is that a thing?
The butcher and the rat catcher can come and provide you with whatever they found in the meantime. and they can be set to work in the new town. And as the days pass, people can't hide in their homes forever. They still need to go back to their fields and work them, otherwise they won't make it through the rest of the year. They need to go and get water, and, you know, life must continue. And so slowly, bit by bit, people come out of their homes.
Yeah, at first it's like a brave soul who decides to run to the well to get some water, and then they realize that the undead aren't murdering them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more and more people start poking out of their homes, and
life sort of returns to normal, kind of, except now there are skeletons on the walls, and there's bodies outside that are being stacked up and turned into undead, and dark rituals, and this weird heavy-set man running around with a rat claver, hacking, catching rats and chopping their tails off and tying them together, or whatever it is the butcher does. And dog catchers and people's dogs go missing, and life gets a little weird.
There's cultists there to provide pamphlets and fill them in on what's going on and what the winter gods have in mind for their soul.
Yep. And I think life sort of just continues under the new leadership here.
So let's crank through those corpses.
Right.
I'll just go ahead and turn all 176 into basic skeletons. Does that seem like the way to clean up the battlefield?
Love it.
So that's like 2.5 days of skeleton raising for a total of like 5+ days post battle. 176 plus 32 is 208. And cool. That's probably fine for mass raising. This army is like plenty. 500 undead soldiers. Like, how much do you really need to control an island?
It's a good
We'll find
question.
out.
Right.
Where do you put them?
Why don't you give me a series of willpower checks, like just one per day. And how many days have we spent doing this? 5 so far?
This has been 5. I think we're on to the 6th or something. So there's a pass, a pass, a pass. That's 3, 4. Ooh. The 5th day, there's a fail.
Yeah, on the 5th day, there are, some civilian wanders too close to some skeletons, because they've just been standing on the walls, not moving for 5 days now. And someone goes up to, poke it to see what happens, and the skeleton, turns around and hacks the person to bits.
Totally.
Yeah.
Justice. Lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Was that all that? I mean, so
that was just to see if
this event, teaches the populace a lesson, I assume.
Perhaps. They are properly fearful of the skeletons, and as word spreads around about this, they give them a very wide berth. If the skeletons are guarding the major entrance in and out of town, people will start taking finding a gap in the wall somewhere, or a spot where the wall isn't defended by skeletons, and bringing ladders and crossing, no closer than 200 feet to these things. The presence of the undead sort of makes the city work less efficiently, because everyone's always trying to avoid them and keep them at a distance and at bay. So the undead are slightly interfering with the city's operations.
Yeah, I mean, after about 5 days, I think we're going to move this army out. I think once the battlefield is cleaned up and the army's been raised, I think we're going to move it a little bit. In this time, it's in the evenings of these 5 days, or maybe on the end of that partial day where I only raised 48 skeletons, I do want to look around the keep. I mean, I guess my household will have tidied up the furniture a bit. Malcifer wants to look at their records, though, their library, their books, their ledgers. The main goals being to track down any of the lost Gadian families. Maybe even Sir Deferral is set to this task.
Ooh, okay. Yes.
I don't know if that's going to be found in Pine Spur, but that's one that's one major goal of Malcifer's.
That information would be found in Pinespur specifically, yeah. And Lord Rosegrove can help you dig through these things and find the books and, pull information out for you. And one thing you'll note is that once Lord Rosegrove gets here, he stops referring to you as my lord or my lord and starts referring to you as my grace or my grace or your grace. He changes his honorific pronouns.
Seems fair enough. Mm-hmm. I don't know that, yeah.
I don't know if that's something that you take note of, but he and the cultists start referring to you as Grace or King or something like that.
King Malcifer. I don't know that Malcifer sees himself as a king. Maybe more of it as an interim king. Like he's still yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what these records hold. Mm-hmm. But until a more rightful heir to the throne shows up, we'll serve as protectors to Winter's kingdom.
Okay. Why don't you give me an intelligence check to see if you can sort through this information quickly and easily and find who might be the rightful heir by your calculations?
Yeah, or even if there's any families, like if there's records of who the Gadian noble families that were in open rebellion against the Eridonian invaders, or those that fled,
Well, according to your records, or the records you found here, the Graysons were the last line of kings, and the last Grayson, I don't know if you really like these guys because they did bend the knee. The last Grayson died very recently, a couple years ago, or maybe earlier this year. And there is an offshoot of the family. If you roll back a few generations, there's like a brother who then had this other line over here. And they live in North Gadia, sort of near the Winterwood. Where's my map?
Summerwood?
The Summerwood, yeah, the Summerwood. This used to be called the Winterwood back when this area was frozen over. This used to be the cold area instead of the south, but things got changed ages ago. That's why this is still called Ice Cap, and the Frostflow and Snowmelt rivers. Just a bit of map-making lore. Up here is the old, an offshoot of the Grayson family. And that, according to your research, would technically be the next in line to rule.
Given the name, the Summerwood, I think that's definitely our next destination. Too ominous a name. Are there other mentions? Is this it? Is House Grayson the end of the line? Were there barons and whatnot similar to?
Yes. There are a few other noble families that were noble families before the conquest and still exist today. Most of them have disappeared, but
maybe if Rosegrove is here helping with the research, I'll set him to this. So, I'll say have him follow up on these other smaller houses. Here's the list of barons, or here, right? These are the barons that are missing, or that send letters, send messages out, send letters out to these barons, see if you can find them, see if you can track them down.
Tell them what? What should I tell them, my lord?
That the Eridonian invaders have been defeated, and that it is time for the old lords of winter to take reign over what is rightfully theirs.
Should I gather them here, or just tell them to assert themselves?
Find them first. Let me know if any can be located. Right? Isn't this a whole list of people that?
Yeah.
Maybe they're minor nobles in far corners of the island. Maybe some of them I was hoping some of them would be in the city, but it sounds like maybe not.
There might be one or two houses in the city. We will set Lord Rosegrove to this task of mailing out information. Wow, these are amazing rolls. We'll set him to sending out information and meeting up with, telling these people what's up and collecting the list of the living families and organizing it. It'll take days, probably weeks of work.
Yeah, that's what I expected. Yeah.
Okay,
And chat's reading my mind as to the other area of research interest. I don't know if
the coral sword.
check for this. Yeah. Another thing that Malcifer is interested in is the ancestral blade of the kings of Gadia, the legendary coral sword. Is there mention of this in any of the books in Pine Spur?
Most certainly.
Yeah. Shall I roll an int check to research this, to come across it, or is there like a luck check to fortuitously stumble upon these pages?
Give me an int check, yeah. Because there's libraries and libraries.
Critical fail. 1. Ooh. How does this go wrong?
It goes wrong in that there is this big ass library full of books, and any one of them could be the coral sword. Have information, and Malcifer sets down with a couple of books and starts flipping through them, and there's nothing there, and you're looking out across the hundreds of books here, and you're like, this could take me months to find this information. And I think it's just like, it's not worth your time, and you sort of internally give
drop
up.
It as a pipe dream, right? We've located the old houses of Gadia.
Yeah,
maybe lost to history.
Maybe it's something that you could set someone to later, and they could, work on it in the background.
Fail, I don't even know if I think I'm just going to drop it, and we'll see. Okay. After a few days, the skeletal army is causing problems in Pine Spur with this lead in the Summerwood. How many? It's been 5 days. I need more HP. So I was at. Was there blood to drink, or can Lilith heal me? I assume that raising dead is a strenuous activity, and I can't gain HP, correct?
I think if you're working 8 hours a day to raise undead, yeah, that's strenuous enough.
Living. There are 2 cultists with juicy amounts of HP. 6 and 8. That could give me 3, 4. Or even could even have healthy citizens of Pine Spur brought before me to make sacrifices. I think that seems appropriate. I'll send the hunters around Pine Spur at some point in these 5 days to, I don't know how they would appropriately decide who needs to pay tribute, but...
Well, I think the first people that are brought to you are the Eridonian lords that live here in town.
Oh, they're Eridonian lords.
Oh, yeah. There's noble houses in town, and many of them are Eridonian.
Yeah. Yeah, so the hunters... If they don't outright murder these people, maybe do they drag them to the keep?
They bring them to the keep.
Face trial, or what are their, or is this? Are they just?
It's more of like a surprise. Like you're resting one day in the keep, and one of the hunters comes up and says, "Your Grace, we have brought you sacrifices," and like makes a sweeping gesture to these former nobles who've had their clothes like ripped and torn, but still wearing them, but like hanging in rags and shrouds, and they look fairly defeated.
Is this just like one family, or did they go and gather like everyone that they could track down?
Yeah, right now it's just 3. It is a father with his 2 children, his 2 sons, and they're standing before you in tatters.
What do we have here?
I would like to bring you...
Or is this Vlad speaking?
This is Vlad. I would like to introduce you to former Lord Corsani and his sons.
Corsani? Even saying that name offends my Gadian tongue.
I thought you might feel that way, my lord. They are foreigners of the worst kind. They come from far over the seas, beyond Eridon, from the lands beyond.
You stood with the interlopers
Lord Corsani tries to step forward, but his feet are bound by a short rope, so he stumbles a little, and he stands up as straight as he can and says, "My family has served Pinespur for generations. I know not of your plights and your fights and your politics. We are here to serve."
Politics are for the realms of men. Our problems are much deeper than that. Our fight is much deeper than that. Generations. Who does he think he is? Well,
I mean, if his grandfather was born here, that's generations. Certainly is post-conquest, though.
yeah, I'm not going to think too much about this. You must atone for your crimes. Justice must be served. Pay tribute to the winter gods. And I'm going to drain life force, or drain HP from these three. Until they're unconscious, at least. So that's 3 souls. How much HP is there between them?
Lord Corsani has 5 hit points. His sons have 2 and 5, respectively.
2. Okay, so that's 2 plus 1
Plus
plus
2.
another 2 is 6. Meh. Throw them in the dungeons. Actually, 2 of them are still conscious after that. The 2 HP one falls unconscious. Yeah, so pick up your son. Take them to the dungeons. Are there more lords?
There are. If you ask, they will go ahead and find you a few more lords here and there and bring them to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are plenty of lords and ladies that are outsiders.
So I think that's what's happening as well in Pinespur, right? Most of the populace are free to go, but they know that the hunters are rounding up anyone that they can that had ties to the old leadership and taking them to the keep.
Yep. What would you like to do with these people? Would you like to sacrifice them for years?
I need to drink HP for now. So until Malcifer's at full, we'll keep gathering them and draining them. Maybe if anyone offends me, I might eat their soul. But so based on that first conversation, it's going to be pretty mundane.
Yeah. Yeah. None of these people are going to really stand on principle here. They've already been defeated. Let me see. Let me just see if there are any lords or ladies that... No, none of these people are willing to stand up to the undead king.
So how many are brought or are found in these this 6 days or whatever it is?
25.
25. So that's plenty to drink HP. Okay. Can you do some quick rolls to see how many I need to drain to get another 10 HP?
Sure. To get how much HP?
10.
You only need 4. The next 4 people brought before you are 7, 4, 7, and 7. Very nice.
Okay. All right. So the old lords are rounded up. They are forced to give tribute to the winter gods. Malcifer drinks to full. With 24, is that too many to keep in the dungeons?
No, the dungeons had more than 30 before.
Okay. So they can be imprisoned in the dungeons for now.
Perfect.
Oh, I wanted to do my sensitivity to life ritual.
We haven't taken a break in a long time, have we?
We have not.
Why don't we take a break right here?
Break. Yeah, let's take a break here.
Yeah. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a few minutes, everybody. Bye-bye.